A Republican lawmaker making perhaps the most explosive allegation yet concerning the Biden family business and possible corruption. Senator Chuck Grassley sending a letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland saying that he's obtained evidence that shows the FBI got criminal information from more than 40 confidential sources relating to the activities of James, Hunter and Joe Biden. And worse, he claims the Bureau is covering it up. Republican Ron Johnson elaborating on that.
They actually had a scheme to downplay, not only downplay, but to denigrate any derogatory information on Hunter Biden, calling it Russian disinformation. The FBI has thwarted, legitimate leads and has prevented its agents from actually investigating Joe Biden's corruption.
Stinks, doesn't it?
Yeah, it stinks. I think they had more FBI informants on the Biden family than they had on the Trump campaign. And they had a lot on the Trump campaign. And they had these informants as way back as when he was vice president. So for the last 15 years, the FBI has had 40 informants feeding them criminal information about Joe Biden, his brother, and his son. And every time it got to headquarters, it got wiped out. And they said, you know what, this is coming from Russia. And it never came from Russia. And then you find out that the stuff we found out that the informant said that there was a bribe from Ukraine for 10 mil. They investigated that, not Russia disinformation, and then they shut that down too. So they've never investigated the guy because, Piers, they don't want to investigate the guy. This guy was just a blocker to make sure Trump couldn't get reelected. That's all he was. So they dragged a corrupt old man across the finish line, and he's just sitting there getting us into World War III just because Trump was a guy that caught them spying on him cold and then fired their director.
Brian, if you substitute the name Trump for Biden in this story, would the media be doing more?
There wouldn't be any commercials. Right. They'd be unable to sell pillows on CNN. I sense it would be crazy. They were already interrupting one of the biggest, most impactful wars ever to talk about Trump's civil trial. But things are moving forward. I'm somewhat hopeful. Special Counsel David Weiss is coming in behind closed doors November 7th. Martin Estrada is coming in the next couple of days. They're going to get these people, if they have an ounce of integrity in them, to come out and talk about how they were squelched. And it's so important that Senator Grassley is doing this, not somebody that you can be labeled a firebrand or a extremist.
Dana, if they've actually genuinely suppressed criminal activity, what should happen?
I mean, I guess a temptation would be another special counsel to look into the special counsel that's looking into the special counsel, and it just gets kicked down the road. And by then it'll be like 2027, and who knows what will happen. This is why people have been led to believe that Biden family membership has its privileges, and it's that you don't get any scrutiny. You know,
Judge, I remember a couple of weeks before the election, I remember the New York Post had that sensational story about Hunter Biden's laptop, which got suppressed by social media, by tech giants, by mainstream media. I've always felt that actually could have swung the election. If they'd done their jobs on what turned out to be a true story, that could have swung the election. And everything since then has been protect the Bidens.
Well, there's no question. And studies show that it would have changed the election, that people were asked, if you knew this, would you have changed your vote? There's no question. But, think of the idea that there were 40 different informants, 40 different people going to law enforcement, and law enforcement has a cabal in the center that says anything related to the Bidens, we're going to get rid of. And yet, when it came to Donald Trump, they made something up, and then they went directly to the press to tell the American people that he's a Putin puppet and a Russian asset. Whereas these 40 informants go to law enforcement. Maybe they should have gone to the press in the first place, and we might have heard more about it. But they are as corrupt as the day is long. And there is also, they're talking about getting Joe Biden's bank records, because it won't be complete until they do.
And if you're an FBI informant and you want to come to the press, Jesse Watters Primetime is a great place.